On the panel before, and very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The panel before paved ideally the way for my presentation here. What is the role of data spaces in AI and data? We are here at the AI and Data Summit. And let me start with the vision of Gaia-X. Gaia-X was created a bit less than 4 years ago by 11 German, 11 French organizations. In the meantime, we are more than 320 members from all over the world. And it is our vision to enable trusted, digital, decentralized digital ecosystems. And why are we doing this? We started as industry in different domains a bit more than 40 years ago to create one-to-one interfaces between different organizations. And some of you know EDI, electronic data interchange, one-to-one connections. Then for the last 2 decades, we've been working on the creation of digital platforms with a lot of effort to connect sources and users of data to these platforms. And the panel just talked about the AI Act. And I think in the meantime, 6 years ago, in 2018, GDPR became effective and was forced into operations. We struggled at the beginning quite a lot, especially in Germany, to find the right way to adopt it. And I'm pretty sure we will find this way also for the AI Act. But GDPR paved the way also to handle personal data in such digital platforms. Still knowing there was a lot of effort, allowing us only to connect few to few, even if these few are thousands or 10,000s. And now we are on the way to create data spaces. Data spaces with the ambition to connect many to many, with the ambition to connect millions to millions, to replace one-to-one interfaces by connecting only once as an organization to a domain-specific data space. And here, 2 other acts are enabling us to do so, the Data Governance Act and the Data Act. But to be able to really manage this volume of participants, we need standardization. Standardization to identify an organization, an IT system, a company, a person, or just be it a single sensor delivering data, to automatically identify this item and to authorize it. So what is a provider of data able and allowed to put onto a data space, and what is a user of data able and allowed to use from a data space. And finally, with the provision of trustful data in a sovereign way, we are paving the way also for an increased usage of AI under the frame in Europe of the AI Act as discussed in the panel before. In Europe, because all of this legislations are valid just for us in Europe. But we have a lot of domains, a lot of verticals, which have global business processes. Look at the automotive industry, having global supply chains. And here it is very important for such data spaces to have global acceptance and global adoption. And this will not work in a way that we export the Data Governance Act and the Data Act and tell to our colleagues in Japan, in Korea, in the US, you can join us, but you have to apply the Data Act and Data Governance Act. This will not work. They have their own legislations, and we are working on concepts to implement this non-European legislations to come to global interoperability. And I will come to that in a second. So important for me, and in the frame of this conference here, that in order for GenAI to operate with utmost efficiency and effectiveness, a vast assortment of trusted data is imperative. With this, data spaces are supporting the usage of AI applications. And to create this interoperability also between data spaces, because we have a lot, in the meantime, roughly 180 development projects going on, developing data spaces in different domains. And imagine there would be a smart city data space for the city of Berlin, not being able to communicate with a smart mobility data space and a smart energy data space. We would do something wrong in the design of these data spaces. And therefore, we are applying a concept from the European interoperability framework, which has 4 layers, starting with the technology layer at the bottom, then the semantic interoperability layer. So below is a question how to interoperate, how to exchange data. Second is which data to exchange and to use. The third layer is the operational, the organizational interoperability layer, and then finally the legal part. Legal is something we are not taking care of as Gaia-X, but we are addressing the semantic and organizational part. And this is defined within the Gaia-X compliance document. We've been working together with our members in different teams and different organizations, defining the policies and rules for such interoperable data spaces. I'm always saying interoperable data spaces based on a federated cloud infrastructure, because we need this infrastructure. Data does not flow on rainbows. We need the underlying interoperable federated cloud infrastructure. And again, this compliance document is describing the policies and rules. It's technology agnostic, so the policies and rules can be implemented using different technologies, but there is a reference technology available, described on the right side in the Gaia-X architecture document. And this one is rule agnostic. So it is possible to define the rules as they are described in the compliance document, in that case based on the European legislation, but also compliance documents based on Japanese legislations can be implemented using the same architecture. And with this, also paving the way for interoperability between the data systems of different continents. And coming a bit to the content of this compliance document, we have 4 different levels of conformity. There is a standard conformity, see it in the left column, and then 3 different levels of conformity labels with an increased level of security. And the highest one, which was under intense discussion before this compliance document was finally approved by our board of directors on September 12th, so not too long ago, September 12th this year. This highest level of label can only be fulfilled by providers which are headquartered in Europe and which are not under control or majority control of non-European organizations. Simply to make sure that these offerings are completely under European legislation, sovereign and immune against non-territorial laws, like, for example, the Governance Act in the US. This is quite new, and some of you might be aware of the discussion on the European Cybersecurity Scheme, EUCS, where a similar topic is intensively discussed. We have approved it. Short time after, last week, first companies, end-user companies, announced to bring these requirements into their RFPs. But still, the highest level will count for, I would say, maximum 5% of the total market, maybe even just 2%. And the market will need to prove whether the underlying business processes and requirements are robust enough to pay for the uplift, what this higher level security services will cost. Because you won't be able to get a level 3 service for the cost of the standard conformity. But it is clearly reflecting the requirements of our members, the requirements especially of the end users, and you will see in the next month how this will be implemented and developed. So, coming back to this picture we had before, on the left side, the compliance document describing the policies and rules as created and developed together with our members, and on the right side, the architecture document. And both play together in a way that it is implemented in a tool called the Gaia-X Digital Clearinghouse. And this digital clearinghouse is implementing this compliance rules and specifications as mentioned before. Policies and rules which are in general defined by the different data spaces, and I will come to some examples in a few minutes. And each of these data spaces has their own, what we call, data space governance authority. And it's visualized a bit here in this picture. I have some examples of data spaces. Some of you might have heard of Gaia-X, which is a data space in the automotive industry, which is in operation since October of last year, so nearly since 1 year. The others are still in development. Energy-X is quite well developed. There are smart city data spaces. Factory-X and Aerospace-X have just started this year. They received funding from the German Ministry for Economic Affairs and Climate Change, the Ministry of Mr. Habeck, to implement data spaces in their specific verticals and domains. And again, each of these domains has a data space governance authority defining their specific rules on top of the generally agreed upon rules. And the role of Gaia-X is here to bring the requirements of the different data spaces together and to agree on a minimal set of interoperability mechanisms. And we are, as I said at the beginning, targeting to create a trust framework which allows us to automatically connect participants to a data space. Participants which are providers or users of data. And you can compare these mechanisms with the real world. You have in your pocket, as shown here on the left side, your ID card, your personal ID card or your passport. And in the real world, countries have agreed on a level of policies. So how are these passports designed? We have agreed on the requirements for this. And each of the countries have their trusted instances to create and produce this, what we call trust anchors. In the real world, what's Bundesdruckerei in English? I don't know. I'll use the word Bundesdruckerei, which is creating the passports in Germany. But these passports created by the Bundesdruckerei are accepted in different countries, and they are, in a lot of countries, and I've been last week in UK, still in UK, machine readable. So I don't need to report to an officer to get access to UK. It is machine readable. And this is the same mechanism we are implementing in the data spaces world. To have machine readable credentials, for example, a digital ID, and being able with this to automatically connect participants. And these credentials are managed in a digital wallet. So not in a physical wallet like this one, but in a digital wallet. And again, the role of Gaia-X is to agree on this, what is called at the bottom, minimal interoperability credentials. And they are shown here with an asterisk as examples. The digital ID, ISO 20000, conformity, these are credentials every data space can use, independent whether it's in manufacturing industry, in automotive, or in mobility, or in healthcare, and so on. And then there are, here shown in different colors, there are data space specific credentials which are valid just for one data space. And we will have in the future a lot of organizations which are working in different data spaces, similar as I today have not only my ID card in my physical wallet, but also my membership card for Lufthansa and for KLM and for other clubs where I'm member. And these are the credentials for the membership in an automotive data space, in a mobility data space, and so on. So in total, this comes to an architecture based on the compliance document and the Gaia-X labels of different levels. Then, on the next level, the minimal interoperability mechanisms, and then the domain-specific regulations, and all of this works together and is creating interoperable data spaces based on a federated cloud infrastructure. And this combination of both worlds is what is symbolized in the X of Gaia-X. You'll see on the left, on top, the data ecosystems, where the data spaces are. But as data does not flow in rainbows, we need the underlying infrastructure ecosystem, the different cloud providers, and the combining element in between are the federation services, compliance regulations, and also data exchange mechanisms which are in the center of the X. And also on the lower side, we are working together with the service providers to come to a solution which is also targeted in the Data Act and the Data Governance Act to develop the market of cloud services in a way as we have it today as consumers in the electricity market. It's quite easy for us to change our energy provider without a real lock-in, a technical lock-in, without the necessity to pay when we want to change it. And this is the approach, this is a target also for the collaboration of cloud providers to enable multi-cloud environments. And here we still have a bit of way to go, but this is definitely the direction to go. And we are creating new solutions here, solutions which require a certain basic development, and this basic development is supported by public funding. Public funding will not be there to enable the operation, but for the creation of it, it is available. And I have here a little overview of the investment which is done so far for the creation of interoperable data spaces. You see, Germany, roughly $500 million, Spain, 200 million, France, Luxembourg, and so on, and large programs of the European Commission, which are with the Digital Euro program and also with the Horizon Europe program. And as I said before, at the moment, roughly 180 development projects are in place. We have an endorsement program where we selected several lighthouse projects and lighthouse data spaces. In total 16 different domains. where these data spaces are in creation and supported by a wide ecosystem of so-called Gaia-X hubs. Here in Germany, the Gaia-X hub is operated by Akatech, and we have similar organizations in a lot of other countries. If you would like to learn more about Gaia-X, visit the website. There's a lot of documentation available on this compliance document on the architecture, or visit our academy, also accessible via our platform, a lot of courses. And finally, I'm inviting you to join our Gaia-X Summit on November 14 and 15 in Helsinki, where you can meet the global players, stakeholders of interoperable data spaces, just 1 week before the Slush conference in Helsinki, so a reason maybe to stay over the weekend. And that's it from my side. Thank you very much.